Okay, Jeff Gordon has joined us, and Jeff is driving the number 24 Drive to End Hunger Chevrolet for Hendrick Motorsports, and Jeff's a 7-time winner here at Martinsville Speedway, and I'm sure you'd like to get another one of those clocks, but maybe just talk about Martinsville. You've had a great success here, and just what this track, how you've been able to get around this racetrack so successfully.
Yeah, I love this place. It's definitely all about the clock this weekend, and I feel like we've got a really good car, to get us to victory lane this weekend. So, it's going to take a lot of hard work, learning the different nuances with this car, and Goodyear brought a little bit different tires. So, we're gonna work through all that in practice. We did today and will tomorrow, but I feel good about it. This is just one of those tracks, and I know I've said it over and over again in here, that, things have just changed the lease and the way you drive the track. Even though the cars have gotten faster, just the way you drive the track and how you use the brakes, how you roll through the center, how you apply the throttle have just not changed tremendously here versus what we've gone through at other tracks aerodynamically and mechanical grip and some of the faster tracks. So, it's always a track I come to looking forward to, and I hope the same with this car. And so today, things went pretty well. So I'm pleased and excited about the weekend.
Okay, we'll go to questions. We got the man here from Richmond, Mike, first, and then Viv, and then this gentleman right here.
Hey, Jeff, I wanted to ask you obviously had a lot of success early in your career as a young guy. How much have you changed over the years, and do you think that this is a young man's sport, an old man's sport, or anybody can do it?
Well, talented race car drivers, when they get with the right team, are going to have success, and I think even young, depends on what kind of young personality they have. If it's super aggressive, then there's a lot of times where if you don't manage the patience along with that, then you're gonna find yourself going really fast, but hitting a lot of things and tearing up equipment and taking some time to learn what it's like to run a 500 lap or 500 mile race. So, but I've always said it's you're better off having somebody where you got to pull the reins than you are cracking the whip. And so, when you see a guy that has speed and talent and pushes hard, then you hope that over time that patience and using their head in those situations can come along with it. And so, I felt like I was pretty aggressive when I first came in the sport and made a lot of mistakes, but was able to take that and progress with it and gain experience and patience to go be more consistent to make you a championship, contender.
Let's go to Viv, and then we'll go to back in the back to Ryan McGee, and then this gentleman here. Go ahead.
Viv Bernstein, New York Times. I hate to age you, but you drove in a time before the COT, before softballs, before the Hans. Were drivers more cognizant of the dangers out there than when you weren't as protected? And has it changed now where drivers feel a bit of invulnerability and maybe they're more aggressive?
No, I don't notice anything different. The way you drive, the aggressiveness that you have, I think has always been there. I feel like the emotions, have always been there when somebody gets you upset, and your emotions get the best of you. You make decisions, and those things happen today no different than they did when I first got in the sport. We're running more 1.5 miles and bigger tracks now than we did when I first got in the sport. And the cars are more equal now than they used to be. So, I personally just think you're seeing a lot tighter racing in the closing laps when there's a caution and people are aggressive and people are, going for it. And it's what makes, I think, those moments exciting, but it also is what makes for some of those instances to happen. Bristol... people have been getting spun out in Bristol for forever. So, that certainly hasn't changed. On the bigger tracks, I don't think any of us are sitting there making a decision based on whether this is going to hurt or injure me or the other guy. You're making decisions based on trying to win the race, and then you're also making decisions based on the heat of the moment if something really gets a hold of you and puts you in that position to make an irrational bad decision. But those are the things that are going through your mind, not the dangers. That's we all get complacent in how fast we're going and how tight we're racing until those moments injure somebody.
All the way in the back, Ryan, and then we'll go to this gentleman here. All the way in the back, Jeff.
Hey Jeff. We've obviously been talking a lot about Joe Logano today. That's a guy that came in with a lot of hype even before he got to the Cup Series. You had a lot of the spotlight thrown on you very early in your career. How much more difficult or easier is it to have not just the pressure you were talking about earlier to perform, but also that added extra spotlight on everything that you do?
Well, I mean, I feel like my rookie year was the toughest just because there was hype on all the rookies that year, Bobby Labonte and Kenny Wallace and myself coming from the Nationwide Series. And I think that there were a lot of people looking for those younger guys coming up to make a dent in the sport. I was fortunate that my third year in the sport, we were battling for a championship. So when you go do that, the pressure changes from whether you've got what it takes and whether you belong there or trying working on job security to the pressure of winning every race you go to and trying to win the championship. So I think in Joey's case, he has had a lot of hype and he's had a lot of success. But in the Cup Series, he has struggled, and I think there is a lot of question behind that, and I think I think it's been pretty tough on him to have all that success along the way, have all that hype, come in the Cup Series and not be able to live up to it, whether it's the team or him or whatever it is. Just the combination hasn't been there. So, I think that now with this move to Penske, there's certainly a lot of pressure on him to live up to those expectations.
These two right here. Go ahead.
Charles, Workstar News. I want to ask you about all these feuds going on. Are you worried about getting on the track this weekend with all that going on and getting in the middle of all that?
Oh man, all those feuds have now taken it all off of me. So that's a good thing. No, it's going to be business as usual this weekend. I always evaluate every situation as it comes. So you're out there in the race. Two guys are racing hard. If they have history and they start rubbing up on one another, then yeah, you're going to be cautious of it and probably give them a little extra room. If you're racing along and two guys are just racing hard and they get into one another, then you're gonna react similarly or at least pay attention to it. And those are just normal things you go through most weekends, but especially here at Martinsville.
Gentleman here on the left, and then we'll go to Zach.
Hey, Jeff, Adam Haynes for the Danville Register and Bee. I was just wondering if you could talk about your sponsor for Sunday's race a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, AARP Driving in Hunger's been a tremendous sponsor for us, and we have a lot of fun, getting a chance to interact with the fans and the people that want to volunteer and be a part of helping the more than 9 million older Americans that are dealing with hunger issues. So to know that you're supporting a great cause and making a difference in people's lives is, it's very exciting for me to represent that on Sundays.
Let's go over here to the far right, Jeff. Zach, can we stand up?
Yep. Jeff, Zach, Galbert, NASCAR.com. Earlier, Jimmy Johnson was in here, like you, a 7-time Martinsville winner. He says all of his grandfather clocks are accounted for, and he knows exactly where they all are. Can you say the same? Do you know where all 7 are right now?
I couldn't go through and tell you which rooms they're in, and I mean, I know that they're accounted for, but I have a pretty bad memory. I mean, I think there's one still in a box, and I think that there's several spread out between Rick Hendrick, Ray Ehrenham, maybe even Brian Weitzel, myself, but they're out there.
Let's go to.
I don't really, well, our decorating at home doesn't really lend itself to grandfather clocks, so it's just not one of those trophies we've typically displayed at home, but usually at the race shop or waiting for that place to put it one day. I mean, if you have all of them lined up, that's pretty cool too. So I don't have as big a house as he has.
At least you can tell he knows what time it is, right?
Yeah, he
says
definitely
those-
should.
he says-
Well, no, the thing is, you got to wind. I tried that. I put it up there, and I found out I had to wind that thing like once a week, and I was like,
Says his don't keep
that's
time.
a lot of maintenance.
Yeah. Let's go here to David, and then we'll go to Jared, and then to the gentleman back there. Go ahead.
And David Newton, ESPN.com. Since you said all the dramas kind of made people forget about you, so we'll remind you what happened here last year with Boyer. Did that kind of set the stage for you guys the rest of the year and the little feud you guys had going on?
Well, yeah, I mean, he wrecked us. So whether it was intentional or not, it was still something that was in the back of my mind. So, you could say it set the stage, but for me, it's an accumulation of things. It's sort of like a 3 strikes and you're out deal, and we just made contact too many times last year. But listen, he was racing hard. We were the thing that bothered me so much about last year is that I really don't know if we were going to win that race because we were sitting ducks on old tires. He had it won, really, I think, pretty easily. But to try to make that move going into one, I think, was very impatient, and it really cost him as much as it cost me. But so all he had to do is wait till we got off turn 2, and he probably would have drove by all of us down the back straightaway. So, I mean, certainly that's not forgotten, but it's nice to know that some of that attention is off of us. We just go race hard like we have been every other weekend.
And if you look back at what happened at California, the block that Joey put on Tony, and then the race between Denny and Joey, your opinion on acceptable, not acceptable, too hard, not too hard?
Well, I mean, there's a mirror and a spotter in these cars for a reason, because to me, blocking has always been sort of wide open and accepted, but you got to make the block soon enough. You can't, if the guy's there, you start turning down on him, you're basically giving the guy behind you an excuse to turn you. And we see it a lot more at Daytona and Talladega. To me, that was 2 guys racing hard. And I can understand why Tony was mad, because, he had, I guess, a hole in front and faded. Had he gone down in turn 1, raced side by side with them and finished in the top 5, he probably would have shaken it off as, I wasn't happy about it, but we'll deal with that later. Not reacted quite as aggressively as he did. But, I mean, to me, everywhere we go, you got to use that mirror, and you've got to figure out, especially in a green-white checkered situation, you got to go for it. You got to do everything you can to win on both sides.
Jared?
Yeah, Jared Turner, NASCAR, pole position. 2 things, both related to Charlotte, actually. What is the key to the perfect qualifying lap at Charlotte? And in the 600, what can you do from inside the car to adjust to the changing track conditions throughout the race?
Are we still talking about Charlotte?
Yeah, Charlotte.
Man, you're planning ahead, aren't you?
That's the plan, yeah.
I'm trying to get through Martinsville this
I know.
weekend. You're
I
talking about
apologize.
mid-May. Charlotte. Well, I mean, qualifying there, it's so fast, so much grip, and it's at night. Track just picks up so much speed that you're just super aggressive. I mean, you're just, basically hold your breath, driving as deep as you can, get back in the gas hard as quickly as you can, and hope it sticks. Hope it turns, hope the back sticks. It's a pretty white-knuckle experience because the pace picks up so much from practice. I couldn't tell you what the key to having a perfect lap there, because I haven't had one recently. I love qualifying there, but we just haven't had all the things go right for us. In the race, there's not many tools other than just moving your line around at that racetrack. You can make a wider arc into the corner, turn in later, try to get down to the white line to get the car turned if you're tight, and drive up to the top. If you're freer, that usually tightens the car up, and so that's about all you can do inside the car.
Nate?
Nate Ryan, USA Today Sports. Jeff, you said it's all about the clock. I know at Vegas you guys struggled a lot. At Fontana, it looked like Jimmy was struggling a lot. Is there more, or I don't know if urgency is the right word, but just to knowing that this track's a track where you guys do so well, while you guys are struggling, while Hendrick seems to be still getting things figured out at the bigger speedways, is it important for you guys to do well here because you know this is maybe more of a constant than the intermediates and the 2-mile ovals? And do you have any thoughts on why you and Jimmy have struggled there?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say. Those guys are all good at Vegas, and we struggled. So, we certainly are. I think, we went into California with some concerns. I felt like we actually ran better at California than we did at Vegas. But we still have some things that we're working on for Texas to make improvements. And, you're always learning from your experience as well as from your competitors. So I think there's some things that we learned in California to make us better. I can't tell you why Jimmy struggled at California. That's not a track he typically struggles at. So, I think those are, when you take the rear bar away from us and the bushing and some teams are going to figure that out sooner, and the big spoiler and downforce this car has sooner than others. And I feel like, speaking for the 24 team, we have not figured it out yet, but I'm very confident that we will, and we'll catch up. Coming here, we don't have to think about those things. I feel confident this weekend being on a short track and being Martinsville that we'll be competitive. Urgency, I mean, yeah, we want to win. We want to move up in the points. So we did not anticipate being this far behind again at this point in the year like we were last year. And urgency never does you any favor. So I think it's really more of just staying focused on each race and working on our intermediate program.
Final question, the gentleman there in the blue in the middle. Go ahead.
Jeff, Damian Sorlett, Lynchburg News in Advance. Back to Martinsville. Jimmy was in here earlier, and someone asked him about what's it like to not have one of the top competitors at this track here not racing this weekend in reference to Denny Hamlin. And does that change your mindset, or does that give you an opportunity with one less guy out there to contend for a win who's historically been who's done well here?
I don't think there's one less guy when you put Mark Martin behind the wheel of that car. I think it's a strong team and strong car. Denny definitely, I think the key is going to be adapting to his setup because, he likes his car, a certain balance that's worked very well for his driving style and this track. Is that going to suit Mark Martin's driving style? How long does it take them to get it figured out? But I think Mark Martin is, equally as competitive as Denny when you put him in, quality equipment. So I don't think we've taken one out of the mix, but Denny certainly is always a guy that you focus on here as being one of the guys you have to beat. So we'll see what happens on Sunday with the 11 team.
Jeff, thanks for stopping by, and good luck this weekend.
Thank you.